Will the minister accept that, in many cases, these crimes were racially and religiously aggravated? How, without a national inquiry, can we understand what part these factors played? Over 3 months since the government announced these local inquiries, Tom Crowther KC, a barrister invited by the Home Office to help establish them, knows almost nothing about their progress, and neither do we. When she was 12, after raping her, she threatened you with your lock knife. Your reaction was to pick up a baseball bat with a silver metal handle.
What happens when a politician built on emotional appeals meets one armed with facts? The parliamentary exchange between Jess Phillips and Katie Lamb has gone viral for a reason. It exposes the fundamental difference between performance and substance in modern politics. In just 7 minutes, we witness Phillips, a veteran MP known for her blunt style, visibly crumble when confronted with Lamb's methodical questioning about child exploitation inquiries. By the end, Phillips resorts to vague statements and emotional deflections while Lamb remains composed. Sticking to the devastating facts, the silence in the chamber speaks volumes. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel.
And what does the government intend to do about local leaders who say there is no need for an independent inquiry, like in Bradford or in Wales? Over 3 months since the government announced these local inquiries, Tom Crowther KC, a barrister invited by the Home Office to help establish them, knows almost nothing about their progress, and neither do we. Why is the framework for local inquiries now being led by ministers rather than by independent voices such as Tom Crowther?
Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now back to the video. The political arena often resembles a theatrical performance, with MPs perfecting their signature styles to navigate the treacherous waters of public opinion. Jess Phillips had long mastered the art of the emotional plea, her passionate outbursts typically winning both headlines and hearts. But on this particular day in Parliament, her trusted formula encountered an unexpected obstacle: Katie Lamb's methodical questioning on child sexual exploitation inquiries. As Phillips entered the chamber with her characteristic confidence, she couldn't have anticipated the systematic dismantling that would unfold. Lamb's questioning strategy wasn't designed for viral sound bites or theatrical flourishes. Instead, it was meticulously crafted to expose the fundamental weaknesses in the government's position regarding statutory inquiries into child sexual exploitation cases. The contrast couldn't have been more striking. Phillips's emotionally charged TikTok soundbite ready approach versus Lamb's cool fact-based interrogation with zero tolerance for fluffy non-answers. What makes this parliamentary exchange particularly revealing is how it illuminates the limitations of performance-based politics when confronted with substantive policy questions. Phillips relied on volume and emotional appeals, a strategy that had served her well throughout her political career. Lamb, however, came armed not with rhetorical flourishes, but with precise questions about statutory powers and their critical importance in these investigations. The technical distinction between statutory and non-statutory inquiries became the unexpected battleground. While seemingly bureaucratic, this distinction carries profound implications for justice. Statutory inquiries possess legal authority to compel testimony and evidence production, powers absolutely essential when investigating crimes where perpetrators actively resist scrutiny. Local inquiries without statutory basis lack these crucial tools, potentially leaving victims without recourse and perpetrators without accountability. When Phillips attempted to deflect with vague references to flexible approaches and alternative options like local panels and audits, Lamb refused to accept these non-answers. The government's flexible approach, described in the debate as code for sweep it under the carpet, suddenly appeared flimsy under sustained questioning. Each attempt to pivot away from the core issue only highlighted the government's reluctance to grant investigators the necessary tools to pursue justice effectively. The most revealing moment came when Lamb pressed Phillips on how non-statutory inquiries could possibly compel witnesses or evidence. Phillips's response deteriorated into what observers described as a scatterplot of buzzwords, emotional deflections, and vaguely threatening hand gestures. As she struggled to articulate a coherent defense, Phillips was losing track of her own sentence like a GPS recalculating in real time.
Why is the £5 million set aside for inquiries no longer being allocated, but instead delivered on an opt-in basis? In January, the Home Secretary said the government would conduct 5 local inquiries into the rape gangs which have terrorised so many innocent children. Will the Minister accept that, in many cases, these crimes were racially and religiously aggravated? How, without a national inquiry, can we understand what part these factors played?
A visible manifestation of the policy contradiction she was tasked with defending. The atmosphere in Parliament shifted dramatically when Lam read a judge's graphic description of abuse cases into the record. The chamber, typically alive with performative outrage or theatrical applause, responded with what witnesses described as the most deafening of reactions: silence. You could practically hear the collective cringe ripple across the back benches as the horrific reality of these crimes cut through political posturing. This moment of shared discomfort underscored what was truly at stake: not political points, but justice for thousands of vulnerable victims. Phillips's growing discomfort throughout the exchange revealed something important about contemporary political discourse. Her inability to provide substantive answers about why statutory powers were being denied created a perception that the government valued political convenience over justice. The decision to reject a national statutory inquiry appeared increasingly difficult to justify as Lam methodically exposed the limitations of local, non-statutory alternatives. This parliamentary confrontation represents more than just another political skirmish. It demonstrates how fact-based questioning can penetrate the protective layer of emotional rhetoric that many politicians rely upon. When forced to defend concrete policy positions rather than express general sentiments, the limitations of performance-based politics become starkly apparent. Style without substance ultimately falters under serious scrutiny. The exchange raises profound questions about political accountability. If politicians cannot withstand methodical questioning about consequential decisions, especially those affecting vulnerable victims, how can the public maintain confidence in governmental institutions? Lam's approach demonstrated that effective parliamentary scrutiny requires more than passionate speeches. It demands rigorous engagement with policy details and their real-world implications.
I must warn colleagues, and especially those in the gallery, that this is extremely graphic. But we must not look away or sanitize this evil. When she was 12, after raping her, she threatened you with your lock knife. Your reaction was to pick up a baseball bat with a silver metal handle.
The aftermath of the Phillips-Lam exchange reverberated across social media, transforming from parliamentary procedure into cultural phenomenon. As clips went viral, they sparked a wave of memes, satirical videos, and critical discussions across Twitter, TikTok, and Facebook. This digital dissection of Phillips's performance revealed a deeper societal hunger for substance in political discourse. The exchange ultimately serves as a cautionary tale about the fragility of style over substance politics. As the source aptly notes, when someone like Katie Lam shows up armed not with a slogan, but with specifics, that entire act falls apart. In an era where sexual abuse victims deserve justice, performative politics simply isn't enough.